So imagine you're stepping off a 14-hour flight to Paris, right? You are totally ready for the trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, you've got the itinerary all planned out.
Exactly. But the very first thing your body does is, well, it instantly lays off 30% of its frontline immune defenders.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You aren't just feeling a little tired, you are biologically defenseless right as you walk into this crowded international terminal.
Which is terrifying, honestly.
It really is. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at the ultimate vacation thief, which is, of course, jet lag.
Yeah, and the great irony of modern travel is that our technology allows us to cross the globe in a matter of hours, but our internal organs are, well, they're essentially still walking.
Right. They haven't caught up at all.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So today, our mission isn't just to validate that groggy, awful feeling you get. We are going to explore how to actually hack your biological clock.
And we have a great source for this.
We do. We're drawing on a highly comprehensive guide by Skyscanner. It's titled 35 Plus Tips and Truths About Jet Lag, Sleep, and Well-Being. And it really serves as this fascinating map of the fragile rhythms of the human body.
Okay, let's unpack this because before we can beat the enemy, we kind of have to understand the mechanics of what is actually happening inside you at 35,000 feet.
Right, the biology of the blur, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Why does stepping off a plane leave you feeling like your brain is just, wrapped in cotton?
Well, it comes down to a really specific biological condition called desynchrinosis.
Desynchrinosis. That sounds intense.
It sounds like an intense medical term, yeah. And physiologically, it actually is. Desynchrinosis is a literal systemic disruption of your internal master clock.
Your circadian rhythm.
Right, your circadian rhythm. You are rapidly hopping across multiple time zones way faster than your brain can process the new environmental cues around you. And primarily, we're talking about light.
The Skyscanner guide actually paints a really visceral picture of how this plays out in reality. Let's say you are flying from Delhi to Adelaide.
Okay, that's a long haul.
Right. So you leave Delhi at 8 in the morning local time. You've had breakfast. Your body is releasing insulin to process that food, and your core temperature is rising for the day.
Your body thinks it's morning.
Exactly. But thanks to the 4.5 to 5.5 hour time difference, you eventually touch down in Australia at 6:30 in the evening local time.
So the sun is already going down.
The sun is going down. The local environment is signaling that the day is over. But internally, your pancreas, your liver, your brain, they are all screaming that it is only 1 in the afternoon.
You're completely out of sync.
Yeah, you haven't even had a late lunch yet biologically, and the world is telling you to get ready for bed.
And the sheer unnatural speed of commercial aviation is exactly what causes this specific biological pileup.
Because we weren't meant to travel that fast.
No, not at all. Your body relies heavily on sunlight entering your optic nerve to regulate this whole cascade of hormones.
And melatonin is the big one here.
The most critical one for this conversation, yes. That is your sleep-supporting hormone. And the biological rule is incredibly rigid here. The more bright light your eyes perceive, the less melatonin your pineal gland actually produces.
I always think of the human body in this scenario like a confused smartphone.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. Like, when you land in a new country and your phone is desperately trying to connect to the new local Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, it takes a minute.
The physical hardware of the phone is totally fine, but the internal software is still pinging servers back in your departure city. It's powered on, but it's completely out of sync with its actual physical location.
That's the perfect analogy.
But let me pause you there, though, because I've honestly always assumed jet lag was just a fancy term for being stuck in a cramped seat for 14 hours, breathing recycled air.
Right, just being tired from the flight.
Yeah, isn't a lot of this just pure physical exhaustion?
What's fascinating here is that you've just highlighted the critical difference between two totally separate biological phenomena. People constantly conflate them. There's travel fatigue, and then there's actual jet lag.
Okay, so they aren't the same thing.
Not at all.
Hmm?
Travel fatigue is purely mechanical. You are sitting in one restrictive seat for hours, which causes blood pooling and stiffness.
Ugh, the worst.
Plus, the cabin is pressurized to mimic high altitudes, meaning there's less oxygen in the air. So your heart and lungs are literally working harder just to maintain baseline oxygen levels.
And the air is so dry.
Extremely dry. Airplane air is notoriously devoid of humidity, which leads to severe dehydration.
So that's just the physical wear and tear of the journey itself, the physical toll of the metal tube.
Exactly. Think about flying directly north or south for 14 hours. If you fly from New York straight down to Buenos Aires,
You stay in the same time zone.
right, you will experience heavy travel fatigue. You will feel drained. But you won't have jet lag because you haven't crossed any major time zones. Your light cues remain completely consistent.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Jet lag, or desynchronisis, is strictly that hormonal misfire. Your body's internal schedule for when to sleep, when to eat, and even when to use the bathroom has completely severed ties with the reality of the sun outside your window.
So your internal clock is completely divorced from the sun. That sounds exhausting, sure. But what happens when you force a body to stay awake when its biology is demanding sleep?
Well, it gets dangerous.
Right, the body doesn't just get tired, it actually starts shutting down its own defenses. The scale of this issue in the report really blew my mind. 100 million people experience jet lag annually.
That is a massive number.
And if you look at regular long-haul flyers, a whopping 68% of them suffer from it. Almost 7 out of 10 people getting off a long international flight are walking right into a physiological wall.
And the direction you travel determines just how thick that wall actually is. Flying east is significantly harder on the human cardiovascular and nervous systems than flying west.
Is that just the math of losing hours versus gaining them?
It's the math combined with our evolutionary biology. When you fly east, you are drastically shortening your day.
You lose time.
Right. You are essentially demanding that your brain initiate sleep protocols before it's naturally tired. And then you are forcing yourself to wake up before the restorative sleep cycles have even finished.
So you're just fighting your body the whole way.
You have to actively advance your internal clock. But human biology naturally runs on a cycle that's slightly longer than 24 hours. It's usually closer to 24.2 hours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when you fly west and you lengthen the day, you are just asking your body to stay awake a little longer. That naturally aligns with our inherent tendency to delay sleep anyway, making it much easier to handle.
The recovery timeline entirely reflects that directional struggle, too. The baseline metric is that it takes 1 full day of recovery for every single time zone you cross.
Which can really eat into a vacation.
Unless you are traveling west, where the math is a bit more forgiving, that's about 1 day for every 1.5 time zones. But let's go back to that shocking health impact I mentioned at the top of the show.
The immune system drop.
Yes. We aren't just talking about yawning through a museum tour here. Just 2 to 3 nights of disrupted sleep from crossing time zones causes a 30% reduction in natural killer cell activity.
That is a staggering and dangerous physiological drop. Natural killer cells, or NK cells, are the bouncers of your immune system.
They keep the bad stuff out.
They do. They patrol your bloodstream, actively hunting down compromised cells, tumors, and invading viruses. When your circadian rhythm is shattered by desynchronisis, your immune system essentially powers down to conserve energy.
And you drop 30% of your defense capability in just 48 to 72 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is precisely why so many people catch a nasty travel cold or a respiratory infection right after arriving. You are biologically defenseless right at the exact moment you are walking through airports packed with novel pathogens.
And the toll isn't just physical. It deeply infiltrates your psychological state, too. Sleep deprivation from jet lag causes a 9% variance in overall psychological well-being.
Which is huge for mental health.
It translates to aggressive spikes in stress, deep irritability, emotional dysregulation, and heightened anxiety.
So you were essentially walking around a foreign city with a compromised immune system and a highly reactive, fraying nervous system.
Exactly. So let me ask you this. If I fly to Paris, feel absolutely terrible that first day, but then manage to get a really solid, uninterrupted 8 hours of sleep on my second night, am I cured? Is the underlying jet lag over?
That is perhaps the most common travel misconception out there. The Skyscanner report cites data pulled from Oura rings.
Those are the wearable smart rings, right?
Right, they track heart rate variability and highly detailed sleep stages. And that data completely debunks this idea that one good night fixes you.
Oh, really?
We have to look at the asymmetrical nature of recovery. Your sleep duration, meaning the actual total hours you are unconscious, rebounds incredibly quickly.
Okay.
The data shows that sleep duration can return to within 12 minutes of your normal home baseline after just 2 days in a new time zone.
Okay, so if I'm tracking my sleep, it looks like I got a full 8 hours. I feel like I should be fixed.
On paper, you are sleeping enough hours.
Yeah.
But here's the critical catch. Your actual sleep architecture, the deep REM cycles, the internal machinery that regulates your digestion, your stress hormones, your core temperature, That underlying rhythm can take up to 15 days to fully gel again.
15 days. The trip is usually over by then.
Exactly. So you might be unconscious for 8 hours on night 2, but it won't be high-quality restorative sleep. You will likely still experience gastrointestinal issues, brain fog, and random mood swings for a week. You are treating the surface symptom, exhaustion, but the underlying desynchrinosis is still silently running its course.
Which perfectly explains why the recovery process is so wildly frustrating
Yeah.
and why people are feeling so miserable that an entire global economy has basically sprouted up to solve this exact problem.
Oh, absolutely. The market is huge.
The physical and mental tolls are so severe that travelers are desperate for any kind of fix. Look at the context provided regarding Indian travelers. 42% are already struggling with sleep due to intense work-related stress before they even pack a bag.
That's almost half.
And 38% find themselves completely unable to make up for lost sleep, even on the weekends. You stack severe jet lag on top of a system that is already cracking, and it's a recipe for a total breakdown.
And the market has responded aggressively to that level of desperation.
Ah,
There's now a massive specialized sector known as the jet lag therapy market.
jet lag therapy.
Yeah, it encompasses custom supplements, specialized wearable tech, and clinical light therapy devices. It hit $441.1 million in 2024.
That is incredible.
And the financial projections show it reaching nearly $620 million by 2033. It's growing steadily at nearly 4% annually.
But the industry isn't just selling gadgets and pills anymore. We are seeing a fundamental shift in how people conceptualize the vacation itself. Enter the booming concept of sleep tourism.
Yes, sleep tourism is fascinating.
1 in 5 people are now actively seeking out destinations specifically for the purpose of getting rest. They aren't flying to explore ancient ruins or hit the clubs. Their primary itinerary is to literally sleep.
Just sleep.
And they are opening their wallets wide for it. Travelers are willing to spend an average of $1,752 specifically for sleep-enhanced hotel rooms. We are talking blackout architecture, specific acoustic soundscaping, and clinically tailored bedding.
It is completely reshaping the hospitality industry from the ground up. And the geographical hotspots for this are really telling.
Where are people going?
Well, Kyoto currently leads the pack globally, capturing 19% of the sleep tourism interest.
Oh, Japan. Nice.
Yeah. Santorini follows at 14%, the Amalfi Coast at 13%, and the Maldives at 11%. In North America, Big Sur in California is the primary destination at 8%.
Notice the pattern there.
Right. These are places historically known for deep tranquility, nature, and a profound separation from urban hustle.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and maybe a little tragic, to be honest. Let me push back on this whole concept of sleep tourism.
Go for it.
Isn't this just an incredibly expensive way of admitting that our normal day-to-day lives are completely unmanageable? The same data points out that 93% of people in India aren't getting enough sleep on a daily basis.
93%. That's almost everyone.
And 87% are actively staring at their smartphones right before bed. Are we really dropping nearly $2,000 to fly across the world to a customized dark room in Kyoto, just because we simply can't bring ourselves to put our phones away at 10 at night in our own houses?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are hitting on the exact core of the issue.
Right.
The travel itself isn't the root of the problem. Travel is merely exposing our chronic baseline exhaustion. We are living in a perpetual, crushing state of sleep debt.
We're exhausted before we even get to the airport.
Exactly. When you introduce desynchrinosis to a central nervous system that is already depleted, the system just crashes. This is precisely why 36% of business travelers cite jet lag as a major pressing concern for overseas meetings.
Because they can't afford to crash.
They aren't just worried about yawning in a boardroom. They know they do not have the physiological reserves left to handle the disruption. They are already running on empty.
Which makes finding a practical solution all the more critical. We've explored the biology, we've looked at the massive luxury industry trying to sell us a cure. But let's get practical.
Yes, what can we actually do?
So you've booked your ticket and you know the biological risks. How do you actually protect yourself without spending thousands of dollars? Let's distill the highly specific hacker's toolkit listed in the guide into a cohesive, actionable strategy.
And it actually starts before you even leave for the airport.
Pre-flight. Okay.
Pre-flight preparation is absolutely where you can make the biggest, easiest impact. The goal is to gently trick your circadian rhythm into shifting before the physical trauma of the actual travel day.
How do you do that?
For 2 weeks prior to your flight, shift your sleep schedule by just 15 minutes a day. You go to bed 15 minutes earlier if you are traveling east, or 15 minutes later if you are traveling west.
Just 15 minutes. That doesn't seem like much.
The reason we use 15-minute increments is that these micro-adjustments don't trigger a biological shock response.
Yeah.
By the time you board the plane, you've already invisibly shifted your body clock by several hours.
Oh, that's smart.
You also want to employ psychological preparation. Change your wristwatch to the destination time zone before you even step on the plane.
It sounds incredibly simple, but it starts telling your brain to anticipate the new reality. Now, what about in flight? You're in the seat, the engine is humming, the air pressure changes.
The guide is very clear here. Keep moving.
Do ankle rolls, seated twists, anything to keep blood flowing.
Right, to fight off that mechanical travel fatigue we broke down earlier. But here is the hardest rule for a lot of flyers to swallow. You have to avoid alcohol.
It's so tempting, though.
It is easily the most common and most destructive mistake travelers make. They order a glass of wine to help them doze off, genuinely believing they are getting a head start on their sleep schedule.
I always compare drinking alcohol on a plane to taking out a high-interest loan on your energy.
That's a brutal way to put it, but accurate.
Sure, it feels like a quick fix right now. The sedative effect hits fast and knocks you out. But the payback cycle is absolutely brutal. As your liver metabolizes the alcohol, it triggers a rebound effect in your nervous system.
It shatters your sleep quality.
It deeply fragments your sleep architecture. It suppresses your REM sleep early on and then causes sudden rebound awakenings. You might technically be unconscious in your seat, but you aren't getting any restorative deep sleep.
Not at all.
You land feeling significantly worse, and you've actively ruined your brain's ability to adapt to the sun for the first few days of your trip. Instead of the wine cart, the focus has to be on what you eat and drink.
The metabolic system plays a huge role in circadian adjustment. You should opt for lighter meals. Heavy digestion requires immense energy and blood flow that your body desperately needs to utilize for shifting its master clock.
Skip the heavy pasta dish.
Yeah, definitely. But the most critical in-flight hack is aggressive, relentless hydration. The dry cabin air is pulling moisture out of your skin and lungs constantly.
And the report provides very specific high targets for this.
It does. Men need 15.5 cups, or roughly 3.7 liters of water daily during travel, and women need 11.5 cups, or 2.7 liters. You have to drink far more than your thirst mechanism tells you to.
So you've micro-adjusted your sleep for weeks, you've survived the flight with just water, you are fully hydrated, now you've landed in the new city. The post-flight strategy is all about light and timing.
Right.
If you are incredibly desperate for sleep upon arrival, do not get into bed for hours. You must cap your naps at 15 to 30 minutes maximum.
This is so hard to do, but so important.
The reason for this is sleep inertia. If you sleep any longer, your brain drops into slow-wave deep sleep, and waking up from that mid-cycle in a dark hotel room will make you feel infinitely worse than before you laid down.
The real magic bullet here is bright light exposure.
Get outside for at least 15 minutes of bright, direct sunlight.
Because, as we established with the optic nerve earlier, bright light aggressively suppresses melatonin production. It is the single strongest signal you can send to your suprachiasmatic nucleus.
The brain's timekeeper.
Exactly. It tells it that it is daytime and you need to be alert. But biology sometimes needs a chemical assist, which is where supplements enter the toolkit.
Melatonin is obviously the most famous one here.
And the clinical data supports its use. It peaks in the bloodstream in about 1 hour and actively helps 78.4% of users fall asleep in a new time zone.
The report also mentions a fascinating pharmaceutical alternative called tasimelteon, and the clinical results on this are wild.
It's very promising.
It can increase your total sleep time by 85 full minutes per night and improve your next day alertness by 15 minutes.
Tasimelteon is incredibly interesting because it isn't just an over-the-counter supplement. It's a specialized pharmaceutical. Unlike standard melatonin, which essentially just floods the system to signal that it's dark, tasimelteon is a melatonin receptor agonist.
What does that mean exactly?
It actively binds to specific receptors in the brain to forcefully shift the circadian rhythm. Gaining an extra hour and 25 minutes of sleep when you are severely jet-lagged is a massive clinical difference. It can completely change the trajectory of your recovery.
That is huge.
You can also utilize light therapy via dawn simulators. These are highly specific light boxes that artificially trigger the morning cortisol awakening response if you land somewhere where you can't get natural sunlight.
Like arriving in the dead of winter in Scandinavia.
Right. But we have to synthesize all of these tips with one major caveat. Your individual biology dictates how well any of these hacks work.
Right, none of this is a one-size-fits-all magic spell.
Age plays a significant structural role. Seniors naturally adapt much more slowly to these circadian changes because the internal master clock becomes less flexible and less responsive to light over time.
But they also need less sleep, right?
Yes, seniors inherently require slightly less sleep overall, about 78 hours compared to younger adults, which actually changes how intensely they experience the resulting sleep debt.
Ah,
Okay. Pre-existing conditions, your baseline metabolic diet, whether you suffer from undiagnosed sleep apnea, all of these underlying factors dictate your personal biological recovery timeline.
so what does this all mean if we pull all these threads together? Jet lag is not just a fancy word for being tired from sitting on a plane.
No, it's really not.
It is a profound systemic biological misfire. It is a desynchrinosis that severely impacts your immune system's frontline defenders and destabilizes your mental health. The market to cure it is booming, literally turning a good night's rest into a luxury commodity.
A very expensive commodity.
But you don't necessarily need a $2,000 room in Kyoto to fix it. With pre-flight micro-adjustments, aggressive cellular hydration, skipping the high-interest loan of an in-flight cocktail, and strategic sunlight exposure, you can absolutely outsmart your own biology.
The crucial takeaway here is that you have earned your time away. You have worked hard, you have meticulously planned, you have invested your resources into this trip.
You deserve to enjoy it from day one.
Letting the biological disruption of desynchrinosis steal the joy from those crucial first few days is entirely preventable if you simply respect the mechanics of your circadian rhythm. Work with your body's natural signals, not against them.
I love that. Work with your body, not against it. But I want to leave you with a final lingering idea to chew on, drawn from the Jonas Dottir study mentioned in the Skyscanner text.
Oh, this is a great point.
This study found something totally counterintuitive about travel. For people who are chronically underslept in their daily lives, which honestly is most of us crossing major time zones, actually resulted in them getting more sleep overall during their trip than they normally would at home.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
It really is. Which makes you wonder, is it possible that sometimes completely throwing our biological clock into total, unavoidable chaos by flying across the world is the only way our bodies can finally force us to stop working, break our toxic daily routines, and get the deep rest we so desperately need?
A forced reset.
Exactly. Something to think about the next time you are staring out a plane window at 35,000 feet. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.